Donald Yates, who not only through his own Cherokee ancestry discovered his own Jewish roots, but he's also leading the charge in the DNA discoveries of the ancient roots of the Cherokee and other Native American communities.
Hidden deep within the bloodline of the Cherokee people lies a secret that has baffled scientists and challenged long-held beliefs about American history. What if the story of the first Americans is far more complex and connected to faraway civilizations than anyone imagined? The Cherokee are known for their resilience and rich culture, but beneath the surface of legends and oral histories is a genetic enigma, one that could rewrite the origins of a people and shake the foundations of accepted archaeology. This is a tale of mystery, survival, and discovery that goes beyond borders and time. The DNA puzzle emerges. The DNA of the Cherokee people holds a mystery that has surprised scientists and challenged long-standing beliefs about the origins of Native Americans. For decades, researchers believed that all indigenous peoples of the Americas descended from a small group of ancestors who crossed from Siberia into Alaska during the last ice age. This theory, based largely on mitochondrial DNA, passed from mother to child, identified 4 main genetic groups that all Native Americans were expected to belong to. These groups, labeled A, B, C, and D, traced a clear lineage back to Asia. However, when modern genetic studies began analyzing the DNA of Cherokee descendants, an unexpected pattern emerged. Alongside the expected groups, scientists discovered mitochondrial lineages, typically associated with populations from the Mediterranean, North Africa, and the Middle East. Lineages identified as T, U, J, H, and X appeared frequently, far beyond what any expert had anticipated. These lineages are commonly found in populations such as Egyptians, Berbers, and Jewish communities, suggesting a surprising connection across continents. This discovery was more than a simple anomaly. If the Cherokee carry these genetic markers, it implies that their ancestors may have had ancient contact with civilizations thousands of miles away, long before European explorers arrived in the Americas. The implications are profound, challenging the traditional narrative that Native American ancestry is exclusively linked to Asia. Yet, despite the significance, this information remained largely under the radar, sometimes treated with silence or skepticism within scientific circles. The presence of these unexpected haplogroups raises questions about historical migrations and interactions that standard models of history do not fully explain. Could it be that seafaring peoples from the Old World reached the Americas before Columbus? Or might the Cherokee preserve genetic memories of lost civilizations or forgotten journeys? These theories, once relegated to the fringes, have gained renewed attention because of this genetic evidence. Intriguingly, family histories among the Cherokee also hint at these connections. Some clans trace their ancestry not only to native foundations, but also to early traders and settlers from Europe and the Mediterranean who married into the tribe. These unions were not only social, but also political, creating alliances that strengthened the Cherokee network. Over generations, this blending of bloodlines became woven into the larger Cherokee identity. One well-known example further illustrates this complex heritage. The family history of Elvis Presley includes claims of both Cherokee and Jewish ancestry. Genealogical research traces his maternal lineage to a Cherokee woman known as White Dove, while his mother also reportedly descended from Jewish ancestors. DNA testing later confirmed the presence of haplogroup B, associated with native lineages, but family stories reveal a far more intricate biological heritage. What makes this puzzle so compelling is that such DNA variations do not appear randomly. They repeat across Cherokee families and clans in patterns that suggest sustained historical contact. This is not a tale of isolated intermarriage, but of a deep, intertwined history. Yet the full explanation remains elusive, with many questions still unanswered. The mystery within Cherokee DNA invites us to rethink history in a way that connects peoples and places beyond conventional boundaries. The genetic trail points to stories waiting to be uncovered, challenging us to look deeper into the past to understand who the Cherokee really are. The people who called the Appalachian Mountains home long before these genetic revelations offer a rich culture shaped by their unique environment and traditions. The Cherokee Homeland and Society. For countless generations, the Cherokee people thrived in the Appalachian Mountains, a vast region stretching across parts of today's North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Alabama. This rugged landscape of thick forests, winding rivers, and fertile valleys provided everything they needed for survival and community life. The rivers acted as natural highways, connecting villages and enabling trade, while the mountains were both a physical barrier and a spiritual force shaping their worldview. The Cherokee did not live in isolated bands, but organized themselves into well-structured towns and villages, often built along fertile plains or riverbanks. Central to each village was a council house, a large circular building where leaders gathered to make decisions for the community. Life grew in harmony with nature's cycles. Families planted the three sisters, corn, beans, and squash, working together to nourish the soil and ensure a stable harvest. Their society was built around a clan system, dividing people into groups such as the wolf, deer, and bird clans. Clan membership came from the mother's side and formed the basis for social responsibility and identity. People within the same clan were forbidden from marrying, promoting alliances across towns and villages. This created a strong network of kinship and mutual protection that extended over hundreds of miles. Spirituality was an integral part of the daily lives of the Cherokee people. They believed that the world was held together by a fragile balance between humans, nature, and spiritual beings. The medicine men, or conjurers, played a significant role during this time as they performed rituals and healed the sick through songs and ceremonies. Fire was considered sacred as it represented life and community. Each village had its own sacred fire, which was kept alive and was extinguished every year during the Green Corn Festival as a symbol of rebirth and purity. The Cherokee children were taught from an early age that survival was linked to respect for the environment. They realized that there was a soul in the earth and that every tree, animal, and river had its own spirit and purpose. Gathering food or hunting was not practicing dominion over nature, but rather intimate communication with the divine world. The elders taught the children the whispers of nature through the narrative of fire, creation, and the balancing of mankind and nature. These stories were not mere delusions. They were the moral codes of the tribe that governed the character, responsibility, and sense of belonging of the members. By the time the Europeans arrived in the 16th century, the Cherokee were already a civilization that combined both discipline and elegance. Their Iroquoian language was unique in being complex and rich, signifying the independent thought of the past centuries. The Appalachian Highlands were dotted with towns that had different but very strong characteristics. Each town traded and had ceremonies with their neighbors, but was also related through a blood tie, which gave them the power to be independent and self-ruling. Their army was a source of caution, while their negotiations were a source of respect. The circumventions of trade were such that the Cherokee were well connected with the Indian nations adjacent to them, in terms of both goods and ideas. They were self-sufficient as they grew corn, beans, and squash, and their system of consensus decision-making among the leaders provided stability. However, this strength was not without a trace of softness. It was rather a river of adaptation, a partnership with nature, and a quiet victory of the human spirit. When the locals first came into contact with foreigners who brought with them strange things and even stranger aspirations, even as the Cherokee maintained their heritage, new faces and ideas entered their world with each passing year. Early contact and cultural exchange. Long before Europeans spread across the continent, the Cherokee had lived for centuries in their homelands, connected deeply with their lands and traditions. That changed quickly in the 1500s when Spanish explorers passed through the southeast, drawn by rumors of gold and new territories. These early encounters were often brief and violent, signaling the start of a turbulent chapter in Cherokee history. Trade soon became the foundation for more sustained contact. By the 17th and 18th centuries, Cherokee people were interacting with traders and missionaries from England, Scotland, Ireland, Portugal, and even Jewish merchants from Europe. The Cherokee valued many goods brought by these newcomers. Iron tools, glass beads, cloth, and firearms all offered new possibilities. In exchange, they provided deerskins, furs, and food, products that found growing demand overseas. Marriage played a key role beyond commerce. Many traders who settled among the Cherokee married Cherokee women, creating alliances that offered protection and access to valuable trade networks. These relationships were remembered in family histories, with names like Doherty, Paris, Cooper, and Hyde appearing repeatedly. Such unions were often political as much as personal, building trust and mutual benefit. English explorer John Lawson noted these patterns in 1709, observing that marrying daughters of Cherokee leaders secured traders' influence and safety among the tribe. These marriages linked families from different worlds, blending cultures and bloodlines in a way few outsiders fully understood. It was a strategic blend of old and new. Among these men were Irish traders escaping political unrest, Portuguese merchants descended from Jewish families, and Jewish traders carrying their customs across the Atlantic. These men, once integrated through marriage, raised children fully embedded in Cherokee clans and traditions, adding layers to the tribe's genetic and cultural fabric. This blending was not one-sided. The Cherokee carefully managed these relationships, aligning with different European powers to protect their interests while preserving their traditions. They welcomed new knowledge and goods, but maintained their own spiritual and social systems, showing remarkable adaptability. Trade, diplomacy, and intermarriage created a complex web of interactions that would alter Cherokee society profoundly. These early bonds helped the Cherokee survive turbulent times, but also introduced new challenges. They brought wealth and conflict, alliances and rivalries. Beneath these exchanges lay a secret few could see, a hidden legacy written in blood, folded over generations, linking the Cherokee not only to their mountains, but to places far beyond the horizon. The seeds of struggle and resilience planted by these early encounters would soon be tested by historic upheavals. Struggle and adaptation. The arrival of European settlers brought increasing pressure on the Cherokee people's way of life. What began as trade and alliance gradually shifted to competition and conflict as colonists expanded their claims to fertile valleys and rivers. Each new treaty seemed to chip away at Cherokee lands, threatening the foundations of their existence. By the late 1700s and early 1800s, tensions with the growing United States government escalated rapidly, creating a climate of uncertainty and danger. Despite mounting challenges, the Cherokee demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability. They sought to blend traditional values with new institutions modeled partially on European American systems. One of their proudest achievements was the invention of a written syllabary for the Cherokee language by Sequoyah in the early 1800s, transforming oral tradition into a written culture. Literacy spread quickly, and the tribe even launched the Cherokee Phoenix, a bilingual newspaper that articulated native perspectives and news with candor and sophistication. The Cherokee pushed further to modernize while protecting sovereignty. Schools were established to educate Cherokee children in both Cherokee and European ways. Leaders drafted a constitution to create a structured government mirroring the United States system, aiming to prove that they could be self-governing equals. These efforts reflected a strategy to coexist with the changing world without losing their unique identity or rights to ancestral lands. Nevertheless, adaptation by itself was not enough to keep outside forces at bay. External pressures from the cotton industry and the relentless demand for land led to the infiltration of more and more settlers into Cherokee territory. The Indian Removal Act, which sanctioned the forced relocation of native tribes from their territories, was approved by the US government in 1830. The Cherokee, through legal means, fought against the relocation and the Supreme Court ruling that confirmed their sovereignty, but political power was not enough to stop the removal efforts. The Trail of Tears is still one of the most upsetting events in the history of America, a forced march that changed to an act of defiance through the very survival of the people. The year 1838 saw the Cherokee being removed from their homeland and packed together with others going to the Indian Territory's dry and empty land in the west. Many people started the way. Many never got to the end. Frigid weather, sickness, and hunger were the constant companions of the marchers. The mothers were the ones who had to bury their little ones without marking the graves. The old ones were the ones who whispered their prayers to a merciless sky. When the group finally reached Oklahoma, about 4,000 people had died along the way. The world of the natives became quiet, but their souls were alive. Out of the expulsion, the strength to resist came about. The Cherokee constructed new settlements, opened educational institutions, published newspapers, and created a new administration. Their tongue was kept alive in the music and the agora, and their spirituality was manifested through the rites that were passed from one generation to the next to another, even during the march. They lost their land, but they did not lose their memory. The Trail of Tears is not only a narrative of despair, it is a history of the living and suffering that has been inscribed deep in the heart of a nation that wanted to erase it. The Cherokee people survived because their very essence could not be erased by a march. It is in the blood, the language, and the determination to start afresh. They were not whole, even in their displacement. The stories passed around fires and shared between generations became a bridge connecting the past to the future, preserving memories that science would later seek to understand. Oral traditions and hidden histories. The Cherokee have always valued oral storytelling as the heart of their history and identity. Around campfires at night, elders narrated tales embedding lessons, warnings, and ancestral memories. These narratives were more than folklore. They served as a living archive, carefully passed from one generation to the next. Children absorbed not just stories, but a profound sense of belonging and purpose that textbooks alone could never provide. Many stories recount a time before the Cherokee settled in the Appalachian Mountains, describing journeys across waters or through unknown lands led by spiritual guides. These narratives often mention visitors from distant places, figures attributed with bringing sacred knowledge, tools, or even bloodlines that became intertwined with the Cherokee people. Whether these were early traders, travelers, or something more enigmatic, their memory persisted through the centuries. Certain clans and families trace their origins not to neighboring tribes, but to strangers who joined their ancestors long ago. In some villages, particular lineages were believed to carry signs that marked them as different, linked not to forests or rivers, but to distant horizons. These tales include spiritual interpretations, hinting at connections beyond immediate geography, perhaps across oceans to the rising sun, or lands far away. The power of these stories lies not in minute details, but in how they shape identity. Many Cherokee grow up with a quiet awareness of their unique past, recognizing that they stand apart in ways outsiders may struggle to comprehend. This feeling of being different is woven into the fabric of their culture, carefully maintained through generations despite skepticism from outsiders. For centuries, scholars dismissed these oral histories as mere myth or symbolic allegory. Even within parts of the Cherokee community, some questioned how literally to take them. Yet the consistency and persistence of these narratives across families and regions suggested an underlying truth. They carried more weight than casual storytelling, hinting at truths waiting to be explored. In recent decades, scientific advances have provided new tools to probe these ancient memories. DNA testing opened a remarkable window into the past, revealing genetic evidence that echoed the stories told by elders. This convergence of oral tradition and modern science transformed what was once thought legend into data demanding fresh interpretation. The alignment between genealogy, family law, and unexpected DNA markers challenges us to revisit how history has been recorded and understood. It reminds us that the past is not always linear or constrained by written documents, but shaped by a tapestry of voices, spoken, lived, and now decoded through science. These hidden histories affirm the resilience of the Cherokee spirit, a refusal to be confined by imposed narratives. Their stories and bloodlines offer a doorway into a history far richer and more connected than conventional accounts allow, inviting us to see history as a web of relationships that stretch across time and place. The DNA mystery at the heart of the Cherokee story reveals not just a past lost, but a future reimagined. Rethinking America's history. Recent genetic studies have uncovered Mediterranean and Middle Eastern mitochondrial DNA lineages within the Cherokee population, shaking long-held ideas about how the Americas were first settled. The traditional model claims that all native ancestors crossed a land bridge from Siberia about 15,000 years ago. Yet the Cherokee DNA, carrying haplogroups T, U, J, and H, common among Egyptians, Berbers, and ancient Jewish populations, suggests a more intricate story. These markers appear too deeply rooted to be dismissed as recent mixing. Instead, they hint at ancient contact between the Old World and the New, perhaps through forgotten migrations or seafaring exchanges that predate Columbus by millennia. Mainstream science remains cautious. The land bridge theory forms the backbone of American archaeology, and revising it would mean rewriting much of human prehistory. Still, the evidence invites fresh thinking about early exploration, cultural exchange, and the scope of ancient travel. The implications reach beyond genetics. They touch identity, belonging, and how people define heritage today. For many Cherokee, these discoveries do not dilute ancestry, they enrich it. Genealogies linking families like the Dertis, Coopers, and Hydes to Mediterranean traders now seem more plausible, merging oral history with science. Modern DNA research reveals what stories have long implied. The Cherokee are heirs to a legacy that spans oceans and ages. History, it turns out, isn't a single path. It's a vast river of intertwined journeys still shaping who we are. The Cherokee DNA story reminds us that history is never as simple as it seems. Their genetic heritage bridges continents and centuries, challenging long-held beliefs and inviting fresh perspectives on America's earliest peoples. If you found this journey into the Cherokee mystery fascinating, please like this video and subscribe for more stories that rethink the past and open new doors to understanding our shared human story.